Well, hello for an episode that you didn't think was coming. We're here for the PGR podcast. It is the admins. I'm joined by Manic Hilly and I am Destructive Jay. Say hello, boys.
Good
Hello.
evening.
So, the reason why we're here is we felt it would be a good time ahead of season 10, which isn't far around the corner, to do a podcast, kind of let you know what's going on, what's been happening, because you don't see what goes on behind the scenes. There's obviously a lot of work from a lot of good people within the Discord, and our team has grown massively. But we wanted to give you an update on what we're kind of thinking, and also, hopefully, by doing this podcast, we can get some good feedback as well on maybe things that you like about the league. But before we do that, let's just catch up with the other admins and see what's been going on in their lives. We'll start with the main man himself, Mr. Hilly.
Hello,
Hello.
boys. Hello. Been absolute crazy for me recently. Obviously, got a new one on the way, so it's going to get even more crazy.
You'll love it though, mate. It's no better feeling.
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing.
When you due? I won't say gender.
2 weeks today. 2
That's
weeks today,
mad.
mate. Yeah.
Jesus. So if you disappear,
Little
we know
baby
why.
girl on the way. Yeah. If you ever go, oh, and go silent, you know why.
Retires from the session 2 minutes into call.
Yeah.
So, which league legend is your baby girl named? No, I'm joking.
She's called Apex.
That all is a secret.
Apex
Bastards.
Season 6, after my first title.
Oh no, I know what she's made. What's the Hungara ring? Yeah, that's her middle name.
Can't remember.
He's won it about 8 times.
Yeah. But no, work's busy as well.
Yeah, tell everybody what your job is because I don't think anybody knows much about what we do either.
I'm a fire and security engineer, so basically an alarms engineer.
You ain't responsible for that fire recently in London, are you?
No, I'm actually not. That was a different contractor actually. But yeah, work's just been crazy at the moment. It's summer, so everyone's away, so they want a lot of work doing in minimal time. So yeah.
Manic?
How's you boys doing?
Yeah, so I think I don't know how long it's been since we did one of these. To be honest, was it 2022 or was it 2023? The last one we did. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
PGR
A while.
unveiled 2023 probably.
2023, start of 23. So I think since then I got married. So that happened, and then yeah, thank you. Happily married, which I don't think is too common these days. But yeah, we're all good. I have about the most chilled wife in the world, so that's always nice when you run a league and race a lot. So live quite happily in that regard. And then since then, I have just been working a lot and working on the league a lot. I mean, it's effectively like having two full-time jobs. And then the wife gets some attention from time to time, which she appreciates. But yeah, I think since then probably the marriage is the biggest thing for me. I don't think there's much bigger than that. And yeah, that's about it.
I was thinking as well, we all have kind of like times where we have to have, because we do so much in league stuff or racing, we all have to do like date nights, don't we? Hilly, you have Saturdays, don't you?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's kind of like as and when at the moment, but yeah.
Yeah, I get
So mine tend to be so Saturday morning we'll go out and get coffee and chat about the week. Generally, is where my time is dedicated to. Weekends generally, I don't race on Sundays as much anymore. So the wife keeps saying to me, "You're not racing tonight." I'm like, no.
I get that as well.
Yeah, I've raced Sundays for however long, and I've not had it on this season. It's a bit strange when you change race days because it's kind of the committance has changed. But I just like watching them. But yeah, I think that's the main things that have changed in the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah, and
Me.
if
What
anyone
about you, Jay?
well, so if I'm a travel agent, I manage a travel agent, should I say? So my job's changed a little bit recently, more hectic than it used to be. I tend to find myself more invested in complaints, but I also do a lot of the regional training now, so it's been good for the old CV, but it's been, I do disciplinaries, everything. I feel like my job role has expanded 5 times over in the space of 6 months. But just come back from holiday, which was lovely. So if you don't know, I've got a 7-year-old called Amelia. She is from a former relationship, so I co-parent quite a bit, 50% of
She's
the
a
time.
spitting image of you, though.
Yeah, she's a little personality, that's for sure.
Is that tall? Jesus.
Yes.
She's nearly as tall as Chaz already. But yeah, so I've got a partner 4 years, dedicate my time to this and work. So not much has changed. A holiday recently, which is nice to refresh and reset the batteries, but and of course, if you see me mainly on Discord, it's in the footy chat, so doing things for the football.
Out the FPL.
Join the prediction league. Okay, so that's to get to know our admins a little bit more. Let's talk about how we think then before we talk about things like Tuesdays and stuff like that. Let's talk about how we think the last 6 months or year since our last podcast and how PGR has done. Anyone want to start?
Yeah, God.
Yeah.
God, it's hard to think about a year. So
Yeah.
you tend to find the ebbs and flows, right? So I guess you kind of learn as we have a bit during this August of times of year that you need to just take a breath, right? And you guys have told me so much through this month in particular that, Jack, it's August, it's okay, don't worry, it's fine, it's gonna be fine again, and then everything goes fine again. Don't panic, manic, and it ebbs and flows, right? So we have to deal with the headaches of the games and sort of come to you guys as calm and organised, and we get so many comments, right? And I think the number one comment I get about the league from feedback from people is, "You are the most organised league that we've ever run into," and I'm just like, yeah, we got this under control. And a lot of the times we're like, oh my god, the game's broke again. Oh, how do we deal with it this time? That's what it feels like since the release of 24 has been like, anyway. Hilly's dog agrees.
Yeah.
I
think we've been long enough. We've been doing this long enough to kind of see and think on our feet quickly and assess what month's busy, what we do about it. And I think being on our feet and thinking quickly is kind of, with experience, obviously, has helped us massively recently.
I mean, we sat down a year ago, right, and said, what are our goals for this league? And the main ones were, of course, to be set apart from everybody else. And where we do that compared to most amateur leagues is our organisation, as Manic touched across. But I think our community is probably unique, not for everybody. Like, it is very unique. I think there's pluses and minuses from my point of view. I was hoping that we'd be further along in the social media front, which we touched across in our recent chats, but I would have liked us to have been branching out to more drivers and more viewing audiences across our Twitch and stuff. And I think that's going to be one of our focuses going forward. But then if you actually look at the plus points, I think we never imagined probably racing, how many days a week now?
5.
So we've got 5 race days a week. We've got a huge
multiple
team.
Tiers.
Yeah, huge team that are amazing hard workers. So in that regard, we know that PGR is in safe hands, and we can just continue expanding. So
so there's 20 stewards now, right? And I would say that compared to how it was 12 months ago, the team is a lot more planted and a lot better organised. We don't get complaints from staff about other staff. It doesn't really happen anymore. Whereas 12, 18 months ago, there was people unhappy with people, and there was, for whatever reason. And also the driver complaints, right, have come down. So although this game has brought its fair share of bugs for the last 20 games in a row, the complaints about drivers and driving standards, apart from towards the start of the season in Elite where there was a huge amount of new drivers on board, has been dramatically reduced to the point that some people were concerned that people aren't reporting incidents. But then it wasn't that people aren't reporting incidents as much, it's just that there aren't as many incidents because people are learning that our strict penalty system, you learn or you leave a lot of the time, which we found with a few drivers, But you always get people that have been harshly affected by the rules that think that they're on the wrong side of it and it's wrong. But then I think that is probably something that sets us apart from other leagues as well, is our penalty system is so rugged and strict that we not only have clean racing the majority of the time, but we help those who aren't clean learn why they aren't in a factual manner that isn't offensive, that isn't, but it's very in your face. You did this wrong, you're getting this.
Mm.
But we have approachable staff that they can come to and explain, and people do that very often. And I think that helps people learn.
I think as well, I've touched on this probably more than anybody, but we check ourselves as well because we do, although we want to have these rules and we want to be one of the best organised amateur racing leagues, we do have to check ourselves, don't we? Because we still want to make sure it's fun. So if we go overboard with rules and go too OTT, then it can stop the fun side of the aspect, and that's what we really do try and focus on across any rule set we do. Every season we have an agenda which we go through, and only the ones that we think really need implementing go in. So we do have to check ourselves because you don't want a rule book the size of the FIAs.
No, but we find every season, that you get picked up on new things and new things come across our desk, and we're like, why didn't we think of that? We have these rules chats with the top stewards, right, every single season, and we're like, right, we've got everything nailed on the head. Nothing can go wrong. Race 1, something's gone wrong and it's not in the rule book. Oh my god! and then there's the decision: do we implement now? Do we implement end of the season? And then it's just taking a step back, breathing, and going, right, guys, does this really need changing or not?
Yeah.
We get it right 90% of the time, 95% of the time, but sometimes there's these things that come up that we just don't expect. And that I would like to thank the Codys for that, for all the new stuff that they've brought in on this game that we didn't expect. Keeps us on our toes.
Always.
Yeah. Vision for the future. I might be jumping ahead myself here, but okay. So let's say we do this in 6 months' time. This podcast again. We might do it much sooner than that. We're not going to tell anybody. Where do you see? What do you want to see us have improved in?
More exposure.
I think we've touched on the social media aspect. I mean, that's going to be a push for this season, definitely. And I think obviously a couple of revamps here and there, which we'll be revealing shortly, just to get those days that aren't quite as enjoyed, and then get engagement up internally and externally. I think for me, we have divisions where they're as active as like the FPL social media, but we have other chats where people are more focused on driving, and it's just to get those people integrated a bit more. I think the community's great, right? But I think there's still room for improvement.
Yeah, and I've always said it. We want the league to expand. We're not saying that it's going to be the best league in the world. Of course, we want it to be that way. But it'll just be nice to be recognised. I mean, even just Dale posting the other week his picture of him and his overalls for his go-karting, and he had the F1 Power Grid logo on his arm. And that was just, for us, we made something up out of me and Hilly made a message up on Facebook, said, do you want to create a league? Manic joined, and we've made it even better as a trio, just to have that kind of our name out there, and there's so many people that work hard to make this league what it is. Like,
and obviously we had more vision with designs and things, but it's taken a blip. But there's no harm in saying what that could come back in the future. Depends.
Well, if you get exposure,
depends what happens.
So yeah, I think we're all looking at exposure, aren't we?
I think as well you've got to take the good with the bad. our numbers have probably gradually improved over the last couple of months after taking a bit of a small dip at the end of the last game, as they normally do these things. And people are like, I'm going to take a break until the next game, and then the numbers have come back up a bit gradually, right? But I think the people that we've got in now, if you look at the people that we had in 12 months ago, we may have had a slightly lower number base than we do now. But I think the people we have in now are more reliable and are probably more long-term serving members of the community. And I'm certainly happier with the player base that we have. To the point that people, want to do meetups and things like that, shows the strength of the community that we have. And I think that's changed in the last 12 months, maybe with things like removing pettiness of reports and things like that have really had a positive effect, I think, on the community as a whole.
Do you know, actually saying that, cast your minds back, right? If you think about it, so many people used to race Power Grid, and then they'd race, say, I don't know, two or three other divisions. Two or three other leagues. Now, predominantly, the culture's changed. Like, if you come to Power Grid, you tend to race only 2 or 3 days with Power Grid. You don't have another league that you're in. So, if we look at it that way, hand in hand with what you just said, we've built on that aspect as well.
Yeah.
I get so many messages from people saying things like, "Oh, I've raced in this. I've raced it, and it's absolutely nothing from us saying come and race with us on this extra day or anything like that." I get so many messages from people just saying, "I'm finished seeing the league out on this league, but I absolutely love it here, and I'm going to commit my other day to racing with you guys." And things like that make all the stress that we go through worth it, because it makes it think that we're doing a good job.
I'm going to hand this one over to you guys because this is all about Tuesdays and I don't race Tuesdays. So, good and bad points of the season so far?
So let's go through. So Tuesdays, I think at the start of the season it was stressful for me because doing all the seeding and the planting of people in divisions. It's nerve-wracking because the game's handling model changed 3 times in the first month of the release of the game, and I had little to no information to go off of to put people into seats. And that was like, oh my god, are people going to start winning by 30 seconds? I kind of had to go off 23 and pray that people were close to their old pace.
But you've also done well keeping on top of that and obviously seeing that early and moving as to where fit.
Yeah, so the vast majority of divisions have been very close, right? Shout out my land, thanks for ruining Elite. But the majority has been really close, right? And although I think the probably the worst point of the season was when we got these 5-10 extra drivers into Elite, and then there was some rough tracks right after that. I think they did Jeddah and something else that is a high-risk track, and there was quite a few incidents, and because people didn't know each other that well, because there was a lot of new people, they didn't react very well, and that was a bit of a low point because it was like, oh, it feels like we've gone back a step with racecraft. But then it only took 5-6 more races, right? And we'd weeded out the problem. Somebody who had been causing a lot of the issues started racking up the penalties, and then that person has eventually left. And, we have the system, as I keep saying, of you learn or you leave. And that person chose to leave, and since then, that division has been squeaky clean, with 0 incidents, basically, each week.
Yeah.
Which just shows that the system works wonders. I think one other disappointment I wanted to touch on was some of the commitment of some of the Apex tier drivers. 19 full-time drivers in that tier, and some of them, I understand holidays in August are a thing, but then some of them just not turning up has been very disappointing. So obviously fine for next season because they just won't get full-time seats, but disappointing for the guys in that division that weren't able to finish off their season because of that. But on the other hand,
we've made room for them elsewhere.
But we've made room for them. They've enjoyed racing, and some of them have picked up impressive performances in tiers above or adjacent to the league that they were in. So I think there was a P6 from somebody in the division above. I was like, oh my god. But then the positives, right? You've had people who have really come alive on this game again. So people who had kind of lost the love for the game. I'll name Brashman as one. He'd kind of lost the love for 23. Had a bit of silly behaviour towards the end of 23. I'm sure he won't mind me saying. And on 24 has just come back alive. Has been competitive in champs and has really turned himself around. As Milan and Taylor Danny are three people that come to mind that have really come to life on this game as well. And I think Tuesdays as a whole has been positive, with a few little dips in attendance in August, as you expect, but then it's all come back up towards the end. And particularly I don't know about yours, Hilly, but my division has been really enjoyable this season. I don't like the stupid DRS trains on this game, I will say.
There is a lot of them.
Racing like Austria, I think we did one race in the season. I was literally had all, and I know you're like, oh my god, the division's so close when I say this. No, it was just 3 DRS zones that take up like 60% of the track, and everyone in the entire grid was in a DRS train for 36 laps. Austria is a bag of crap and needs to be removed. Anyway, that's my little run. Yeah, Tuesday's been good. What's your thoughts, Hilly?
Yeah, no, Tuesday, I'd just echoing yours really. Tuesday's been good. I found, Elite at the start was a bit hit and miss, but like you say, changes, people leaving, it's generally a lot more fun to race now. Obviously, Tuesday's kind of like my predominant day of racing, so all my focus is in that. It's enjoyable.
So, moving on to Wednesdays, I guess, then, Hilly. As the star of the show on this one, Hilly. So, for those that aren't already aware, we each have one of the different roles on a Wednesday. So, Wednesdays being our Drive to Survive season. Hilly runs it. I'm a team principal, and Jay drives for a team. So we're a plant everywhere, right? We're a fly on the wall in everywhere you could be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I wanted to, obviously it was kind of dying out. Things needed to be changed, so I kind of made it a bit more TP involvement. So TPs had votes, had says on what they want, obviously to an extent with my confirmation. So obviously the tier names changed with a vote for all the TPs sent in names, and we had a vote. The transfer system will change, so we changed it rather than doing it half an hour or an hour on one night. We then changed it to a full week, which I think worked really well because you kind of had more thoughts, more discussion, who wanted to go where, who wanted to offer points. You kind of had time to sit and think about it and do counter offers. Kind of how do you think it's been being a TP manic?
Well, obviously being P1 in the standings, it's pretty nice for me. Picking sixth and being first, it's nice. It's been good. So I think the draft system was a bit more interesting this season because people didn't really know what they were getting because the game was new, so that made it a bit difficult to decide who was where. And then I've been a lot more involved as a TP than I probably ever have. The separate TP server that we have makes it so that there's a lot more engagement from the TPs, and the trades
as well.
Yeah, and the trades were fantastic. It went. What I did before was terrible compared to this. I'll be straight up and say, where people just got one line or 2 lines to say what they wanted. We had about 500, 600 messages in there a day at one point. Yeah. I was like coming back to read my Discord and like, bloody hell, there's War and Pieces in here. Turns out it's just Chaz trying to trade Mevlin for like 5p or something. But the majority of the time it was really good. There was some absolutely stupid trades, but it made it hilarious, and all the TPs have been pretty good, or the vast majority have been pretty good, which contrasts to previous seasons where we just let anyone be a TP, and some of them, no names will be mentioned, just didn't do anything for like the full season, and my TP chat was dead as a donut, and it was not enjoyable. Whereas my guys, particularly, even the guys that I've traded pre-trade and post-trade, have been really engaging. So yeah, shout out to my drivers. You've been great.
And what's your thoughts on the whole separate server just for TPs?
I am a big fan because I think because we can see everything on the Discord and we can't control that. It's just as it is. I think people kind of had this worry that we were going to be involved or something, because obviously me, you, and Jay have had different involvements in DTS over the years. It's not great that we can see everything on DTS when we're involved with it. So I think it brings a new aspect, and it brings TPs a bit more freedom to say what they want to say and do what they want to do. I think it's been a huge success this season. DTS has had the lowest dropout rate this season of any division in PGR ever. The only driver to have dropped out prior to this week, where Max Dubs had some personal stuff come up, so he had to dip out, nothing to do with us whatsoever, was one driver who left the entire server over a disagreement that was, again, nothing to do with DTS. Not one person has left just DTS this season.
And I've helped that TP get new driver, as well as I've helped Chaz
within a week.
Also get a new driver. Yeah. So
literally didn't miss one race. Whereas last season, I was racing with me and Scotty and nobody else for like 6 races. It was wonderful. But this season there's been like nothing. If you are a TP and on it, they have had 4 drivers on track every week, and you've helped where needed and replaced those drivers basically immediately. And there's been no massive uproar or anything like that, which there often is when we put out decisions. Cough cough. But yeah, for the most part, I've really enjoyed it. Jay, what's your thoughts as a driver?
Yeah, I was about to say, Jay, what's your thoughts?
I'm very disgruntled. I've not been very happy. I've got to be honest, and it's got nothing to do with DTS. It's run superbly. I just had a shit season. Yeah, no, honestly, I think first and foremost, I've been in part of 2 teams now. I've got to make that very clear. 2, and Quimo and Hilly, and they're the most engaging bar Lotus I've ever been in. And the drivers, special mention like Wiggy and Noodles from RAF and stuff, mac and cheese. I just feel like there's more unity. There's more people like, oh, here's the setup this season. You know, what are we going to do? So on a communication front, I've loved it, especially, you know, same kind of thing with Ironworks I'm at the moment. But just my personal performance has not been great, boys. I'm honest.
It's right, you'll find new form in the last few races, mate. Don't worry.
I got sold, didn't I? So, and Quimo, if you're listening, you lied to me. You got deducted points for this. Well, I wasn't part of it, but you said that Hilly offered 40 points for me, and it was only all the other way around, and it was 10. So
no, he gave me 10
everywhere. What?
He gave me 10 for you.
Oh my god. He told me, right, this is no word of a lie, Quimo said that he was getting max stubs and 40 points from me.
No, so I gave him 40 points for max stubs for Wiggy, and then he gave me 10 points for you.
It's going to be some angry driver TP conversations going on after this.
Apart from that, you're happy though, yeah?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Honestly, I mean, you're not now, but yeah, you was.
You're not now, but you're happy about the format and how it's changed.
I am. I think it's probably. I think I'm just slower than normal, so it's difficult to say. I feel like it's, you know, the gap is wider, but actually, if you take myself out of it and say, look, you haven't raced much, you're slower than normal. Yeah, it's been really good. Really, really good.
Good.
Okay, so we spoke about Wednesdays. Just want to touch briefly on F2. Now, F2 is not a division actually that us admins are in control of. It is ran by Scott and Chaz, and from what we've seen, I don't know if you boys agree, but it's been really successful.
From what I've seen, yeah.
So I've watched some of the streams that Omar's been doing. Shout out Omar for joining the comms team this season. I've been watching bits and pieces, and for the most part. It looks like it's been good racing. Numbers have been decent. Whenever I've had to pass on information to Scott or Charles about drivers leaving, joining, as allocations, things like that, they've been on it. And no real complaints from me. I'm glad to see it doing well. It did take a couple of pushes to get F2 moving in the first place, but I'm glad it did get moving and that it's now doing successfully, and hopefully it continues to do so.
Brilliant. So we haven't got much to touch upon, but I like some of their features. The Wheel of Death for their track picks. Imri seems to be running away with it, but on the whole, I think every time I go into that chat, they're all talking about how much fun they've had. So I'm glad we've got it. It's good to have an M2 tier. We've always wanted one, and it's in great hands, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I just confirm? I know you've mentioned I might be cutting out. Am I still cutting out?
Not right now, but you have been for the last 5 minutes or so it might be worth checking that later on.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll
let you know if it continues again.
Moving on to Fridays.
Fridays, yeah. Well, I guess this is my baby at the minute, but it's thanks both of you for starting to take part in it as well. But yeah, started off the season, I thought it was going reasonably well, and then started getting 25, 26 check-ins a week, and I was like, hold on. I'm going to jump on this like a tramp on chips right now and expand through all my life. And it was a very stressful couple of weeks because I had to dig people out of the ground to try and get them to race, and eventually got 2 divisions running, which has been going pretty well numbers-wise and race-wise. I mean, being a complete and utter stat nerd, as most of you might know by now, I try and get it as close as possible, and it's got the 2 closest top 14s in the history of PGR in qualifying so far this season. So I think we've had 2 qualifying sessions where the top 14 were under 4 tenths and the top 5 were under a tenth, which has never happened before. And in fact, I got pole last week by 0.001, which was quite funny. Not for me, not for P2. But I then got disconnected all race, but yeah, that's my own fault. But yeah, for the majority of the season, it's been really enjoyable. I love it, as you would expect. It's my baby. But I've had really positive feedback, and the chat is lit, right? And the chat is lit. They're talking all the time.
My feedback from a driver, I've actually really enjoyed it as well, even though I've been in a complete horrible car.
I'm sorry.
It's actually been really enjoyable.
I agree. Actually, probably one of the most fun divisions I've ever done, and it's just because I am a little bit of a stat man sometimes as well when I want to be. And I mean, China coming from 11th to win in a Mercedes, that was brilliant. But also the struggles, like Spain was a proper struggle for that Mercedes, and then you had to Tuck on a different setup, completely flying in the same car. So it just adds another element. I'm thinking about it so much more in the sense of when I'm going on to practice sessions or if I'm doing time trials, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, okay, what does this car excel in and what doesn't it? And in a race, what do I need to do?
Just to add to that, you're racing against people you're not usually racing against as well.
Yeah, so you can race against people in completely different divisions because the cars allow for it. The 2 divisions has made it so much better, right? Because in one division, I couldn't get the gap between the cars big enough, right? So I had to take assists off of people like Stiggy and stuff, and it was a nightmare. And I still felt bad for people like Craig, shout out Craig, for showing up every single week in a Red Bull, even though he had no chance, right, on pure pace of beating anybody in the slower cars. But he showed up, and now he's in the bottom division, and he's actually doing pretty well. And he's not
doing
drunk.
really well.
But yeah, it's very challenging for me, right? I've done all these analytics and stats about it, but still, I don't know until I've actually gone into a race how my car's going to perform. I've had races like in China. For me, my car was on rails. I was like, I cannot lose this race. And I went to Kota a couple of weeks later, and it was literally like I was driving an F3 car. I was like, I'm just falling off the back of the pack, and I can do nothing. I thought my pedal was broken. It turns out my car's just trash there. But yeah, it's emotional for sure.
Emotional.
Been good.
Emotional. Yeah. Well, there's been a few tears. So Sundays, I guess, is the last day. God, 5 days to talk about now. Sundays has been stressful this season, I think, to say the least, and we'll be seeing some changes going forward. Sundays has been a constant challenge for the last. Well, we've had Sundays running, right, since like season 2 in 2022, right? Or was it season 1?
Yeah.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2.
Season 2 we started Sundays, and it was 1 or 2 tiers, and it's sort of fluctuated between 2 to 3 to 4 to 3 to 4 to 3 tiers, and it kind of becomes this thing where people love it or they hate it, and then it becomes this thing where people prefer Tuesdays, which is a similar format because it's a bit closer and there's more drivers, so people tend to drive on Tuesday instead of Sunday. And then we've had issues with crossplay where there's only been one crossplay division because it's been a bit unstable on 23, not so much on 24. And then we had one of our comms guys have a grievance that turned into something more complicated, and he's been off for some time. Shout out, Mick. Hope you're doing good. And
Love you, Mick.
Yeah, we love you, Mick.
And then we had the disruptions with the World Cup where we were just like, are England playing? Are they not playing? Are they playing? Are they not playing? And then having to move races at the last minute. Oh, Sundays can just sod off this season, honestly.
Just for those that are politically correct, he means the Euros.
Yeah.
I know what I meant.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we've already spoken behind the scenes about some radical changes. Who knows? We're still working on it. I think while we're at it, we might as well talk about our ideas and get people's opinions because I hope you've understood a bit about what we kind of think about on a day-to-day basis via this podcast. But we're just trying to look as well at, I don't know if you saw the recent announcement just about things like introducing a division academy. What am I saying? Drivers
Are you
Academy.
okay?
Those that are politically correct, it's a Drivers Academy.
Touche, Mitch, touche. And so whether that be a Sunday or a Monday, we're not sure yet. But the idea is to just offer something different again in PGR because we want to stand out. So some leagues run a Drivers Academy, and the way we're looking at it is having a top tier with, say, the normal F1 teams and someone being a team principal of those teams, whilst having an academy team that is actually decorated liveries of their own choice. So they could be the team principal, Kick Sauber, and then in the Drivers Academy, they would have, say, Monster Energy Sauber, and it will be then F1 World Cars designed by their own liveries. So it's a spin-off from DTS, but also not as heavy. So that's some of the ideas we're having. But if there is anything that you think would be a good addition to PGR, or if you think you could find a way of rectifying our Sunday problem, where we think Sundays and Tuesdays can be quite similar and therefore people opt for Tuesdays, as Manik said, then do let us know because we do listen to all ideas and would like some feedback.
Yeah, Sundays we're sort of drawing it together, but I like that, and I think it'll be good. And the idea behind that, right, is more collaboration as well. Again, so we find that DTS teams, so our Wednesdays for those that aren't aware, you work together in a team with your TP, and those people grow close together, and they speak a lot more, and you might end up getting friends from it and learning a bit from people.
Yeah.
You can always learn more from other people. I'm a bit of a know-it-all, but I still learn stuff from my team, and all the time, especially those that are quicker than me. Shout out Jay Tyler. Stop killing everyone. But yeah, Sundays going to be a big changes coming for Sundays.
Yeah, we'll see if it's going to be on that day or whether it be Monday. They're the 2 days we're looking at. We'll never do anything on a Saturday. So if you're here hoping for a Saturday league, it's not happening. Not as far as we're concerned at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to touch upon some events before we then move on to a couple of last bits. So events, guys. What were your thoughts on the ones before the season starts? So that was the
World Cup,
World Cup.
massive hit.
Yeah, the most dangerous, the hardest race in PGR, which was the Monaco in the wet. No assists.
It's funny to watch.
Yeah. So what do you guys, two admins, what do you think works and what doesn't? Oh,
I'll answer while Hilly's dog's going mad. So the World Cup is obviously a massive hit, right? Every single time we do it, everyone loves it. We're getting better and better with the organisation of it each time. It was a bit bumpy to start with, but it's been great recently. Bringing in the team aspect that we did of it a couple of seasons ago has just made it so much better for everyone because anyone can win. And the hardest race in PGR, I didn't personally take part, but I did watch and wet myself whilst watching at the fact that everyone was trying to drive with no assists, and the majority of people can't drive with no assists. I think if we did something like that again, I would like to see it split into two lobbies of people that use assists and don't use assists, the best we can, obviously, because it's people like Wiggy and Mitch Chase's wet dream to drive in the wet on Monaco with no assists and laugh at the majority of PGR who drive with assists and are backwards by turn one. But yeah, out of those two, love the World Cup, and I might take part in the hardest race next time we do something.
I'll tell you what, I've had a few messages regarding in recent times, and then the 100% race.
that was a good race, to be fair. I know you and Chad.
Yeah, we've done it twice, 3 times, and haven't really looked at it since. I've had a few messages regarding like, oh, is it coming back? Is it something to think about in the future? I don't know, it's something to ponder on if you're thinking about that.
We'll release more info, but I think we've got 2 to 3 weeks potentially. So I think 2 or 3 events lined up, and that one will definitely feature the once advertised Finnish 10th race. So the aim of the game is to have 3 or 4 5-lapper races, and you must finish 10th to win the race. Believe it or not,
Nightmare.
so a bit of a carnage one. But it's, if you go on YouTube, I believe, is it Alex and Tisham Many UK or something?
Yeah. So Alex Gillen did it with
Yeah.
the Creator Series guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So and Stiggy shared it, and it was a great one to incorporate. So we're going to be doing that one. That's a definite. And then we're also bringing back the World Cup. So they're the 2 confirmed. We're also looking at doing something that is a progressive event. Now, we are trying to create the biggest event PGR has ever done. We're looking at a draft at the moment of drivers basically earning points, or coefficient points, however you want to word it, and by attending races, by scoring good points at races, to then represent their country in a big tournament. So for an idea, it could be 20 people, or it could be 40 people, but it could be, say, Manic and Hilly representing England, whilst
We're fucked.
Lionator and think of another German, Rostocker, representing Germany, but they have to earn enough points to do that. So we're looking at that as well, and trying to make it as the biggest event we've ever done, with hopefully combining with our social media kind of mission. We're going to hopefully combine that and make it the biggest thing. Who knows? We'll see. But we'll take any advice, or if you have any events you'd like us to do, then please let us know. That's vague enough? Do you think that's vague? We said keep it vague.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's vague enough.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything else, boys? I know there's a few other points on there, but I don't know if you want to talk over the Manic, or is it wrap up time?
So I'll go first on this and give you guys some time to think, because you probably haven't got one in mind straight away. Somebody who has impressed you this season in any tier, in any day, you've raced with, you've watched, you've TP'd, anything. So mine is not biased because he's in Lotus, but it's going to be Milan. Milan has gone from, on F1 23, being a driver that got in a lot of incidents, been a driver that struggled with pace in champs, struggled with some emotional problems when reports came out, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, to coming onto F1 24 and having the biggest winning margin that we've seen in Elite basically ever against a couple of other drivers who probably should be in champs. So no easy feat. Being first in DTS, consistently not getting in incidents ever, learning from me everything he possibly can and being really helpful in Lotus. And most importantly, he beat me on Sunday in Portugal, so he must be legit. So, shout out Milan. I'm very impressed with you this season. Thank you for being on my team. And I don't know how I got you picking 6th. Everyone else must be feeling very silly.
So, mine is Reevski.
Oh,
So, just seeing kind of the whole DTS side, I've seen him obviously quite a few TPs used him. He's been thrown in a deep end with quite some fast drivers and handled himself well. Obviously with Pro as well, he's 50 odd points ahead. Very consistent driver. Stays out of accidents. I think he's really impressed me.
Considering he was a driver that was in a lot of incidents on 23,
Yeah.
didn't he get? I'm pretty sure he got a race ban at one point on Sundays last season.
I think he
in
did,
Contender previously, and now he doesn't get in any. Shout out Reese.
And he's fighting against top drivers.
Yeah, he is indeed.
Hats off to you, my friend.
I'll add to it because I'll be very open and honest that Reevski as a driver wasn't my cup of tea in 23, but since being comms for Pro Tier and seeing him on track, him and Rumpski, especially mentioning Rumpski as well, they've both been incredible. It's a pleasure to watch them. And Reevski is, I would say, one of the cleanest drivers I've seen on this game since it's released. Even because of the fact he even comes through the field, he's a changed man. Hope you don't mind me saying it. Wasn't a fan in 23, but actually I really enjoy watching him and Rumpski in Pro Tier. They're a pleasure. So, but I'm going to add a different name. I'm going to go with. You've picked all the names, the main names. I'm going to go with Craig. The reason why is I've never seen someone who can he be bothered, but actually he's picked up his pace. He's challenging. He's a fair driver. He's entertaining as fuck with some of the stuff he comes out with, and he's just someone that puts the work in, and he turns up to races. There's no. He goes to work straight after, boys. He literally works night shifts. He turns up to our races.
And he's straight off.
And he's straight
gone.
off to work. He does grumble, but he turns up and puts a shift in every week. And he's gone from a driver that was 2 seconds off the pace to probably quicker than me at the moment. So yeah, Craig for the meet. I don't race.
Just one extra shout out. Newly crowned Apex champion. Just out of that.
Yeah,
I love.
Yay!
Is what I mean.
Yeah. Well done to you, Craig.
I love drivers that come here and are way off the pace, right, but stick with it and then really improve. I think Plevank has done that fairly recently. He was nowhere a couple of seasons ago, and now he's like one of the top drivers in Elite. Crazy. Anyway, so that was that segment done. So the next thing, if I can get my agenda up, is stresses and positives in general over the last 18 months. So keep this semi-PG. So first I'll start with a moment of silence for all of our fallen comrades. I'll only mention the majors. So Max Stubbs, Chicken and Blunts, Simpendal, Riddler, Carkinzo, and
the GOAT.
The Canadian GOAT, Rob Williams, have all left in the last 18 months. Devastated, as you can all imagine, and still recovering with my therapist. Some of the messages that Rob sent me will be permanently engraved in my mind, and I will forever remember.
Just pause you there. Can everybody remember that Portugal race? That it was, I think it might have been a realistic event, and Rob won it. Oh, that was so legendary. Isn't it?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
that was the
realistic.
best race.
Yeah, 2 event. Yeah, he won it. Yeah. I remember flicking over to it because the car race had finished earlier. I went over and he was first, and I was like, "What?"
He had so much support that day. It was unbelievable.
So what other things I've got here? The RTG Nightmare, that was fun. We were promised a huge amount of drivers who were then taken away from us. After going through the stresses of onboarding them all, they're all taken away.
However, some have come back.
Some have now come back. I would like to say, I'd like to say that Prof has been pretty down to earth and very apologetic about it since then, but was a bit of a stressful nightmare at the time. And I'm glad that we've got a couple of the guys back that were the good of the bunch.
The good of the bunch, yeah.
I'm glad that one hasn't returned. So we've got some pettiness in reports. Oh God, I hate the pettiness. Oh, it does my head in.
It's fine. It's buttoned off now.
And I didn't like it. Right. Reports are now fact, and I am so happy. I've been pushing for this for so long. Right. Pettiness in reports is gone. It is fact only. Otherwise, your report is binned. Get out of here. Love it. No more pettiness. Oh, massive fun. The start of the season, these problem people in Elite that we had, not related to the RTG thing, just a couple of people that were problematic and caused some incidents here and there. They have then gone, but were not reporting things and then saying, "Oh, it was very much this attitude of, I'm not reporting you, but I'm not happy with the racecraft," and it was very confusing. So you've got to report. You're not going to improve the situation, and that's kind of what we batter home over and over again. Report, report, report. If you're unhappy with the safety and the racecraft, then you've got to report. And people were just refusing to report, and then the situation didn't get better. First, thankfully, those people have gone now, and we don't need to worry about it. But it was stressful at the time. And F124 just being a complete buggy mess and causing our season delayed. That was horrendous. Having to make the decision on whether to delay the season, whether to go in equal cars, whether to push it back an extra week and make everyone wait, whether to put another practice session on. Oh, it was a stressful couple of weeks, boys.
We handled it well, though.
Yeah,
we did. The most important thing, is making what we all come together. We believe is the right decision. We tell each other to fuck off if we're wrong, but we tell each other it's the right thing, and we make a decision and we stick with it. And because you guys are awesome, we get it sorted pretty quickly. Positives in the last 18 months. Started running Thursdays and Fridays pretty successfully, I would say. There's been no doubts or worries or anything about those divisions at any time. In fact, they've been some of the more popular divisions to the point that we've even added a second Fridays division. Fantastic. I had my doubts. I'll stand up and say I had my doubts. And I was like, guys, splitting out those divisions is going to kill us. No, it's made things better, and I was wrong. And I love Fridays now. So thank you for pushing me.
Keep him saying that, someone. Thank you.
Got DTS back alive. Hilly got the defib on DTS this season. Smashed it out the park.
Just help from you boys as well. Got a shout out to all the TPs as well. I've had a lot of good suggestions and helped me decide a little bit easier. And just shout out to you
all. We recruited the slugger Tuck onto steward supervisor role, and he's smashed it out the park since he's been doing it.
Yeah, well done, Tuck. Thank you, mate.
Hard working, big old bloke that I don't want to disagree with, but chuckles like a baby. It's quite funny. But wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley type of bloke. And Armin as appeals lead has come in and has done a good job on that.
Well done, Armin.
The new stewards that we've brought on board. We brought 6 new stewards on board, which is the most we've ever brought on, and they have all been pretty good, I think. I don't want to say too much because it's Scotty's thing, but I'm pretty happy personally, and I think you guys are as well.
Thank you, boys.
As far as like stewards are concerned, we usually bring in a batch, and one of them turns into Casper the Ghost. But most of the time, it's been pretty good. And F124 and this new season has brought in lots of new and regularly changing race winners. You aren't seeing divisions where the same guy is winning week in, week out, and it makes everything really exciting. Probably because of this shit DRS and ARS system, but it's majority of it's been really good.
Let me give you a stress over the last 18 months.
Oh God.
2 girls.
Gemma
and Candice.
Was that 18 months? I thought it was before that.
Nah, it was last June. I was like, that's fucking awful.
I didn't want to bring in any politics. I don't think
anybody doesn't know. 2 of our beloved members infiltrated the Discord, so Manic had to up the security because they came in as the Kevin and Perry girls, Gemma and Candice, and they have given me permanent PTSD. So congratulations.
I never had myself as a security analyst, but I turned into it for that week, as well as like side.
IP addresses. Our mate was gone. Had IP addresses up.
Shout out as well whilst we're here to the very hard-working stewards team, and also to the div managers and lobby hosts who have taken on and started doing a great job there.
Some at last minute as well. So yeah, thank you, boys.
Yeah, and as we start to wrap up, one of the big positives in the last 18 months is to 2 men in particular who have taken our social media to the next level. That is Blue and that is Armin. I think you can all agree if you watch our YouTube or our Facebook page, the constant updates and the constant brilliant quality of stuff they bring out is amazing. So we would really appreciate it if you guys can fully support them. If you could follow our Twitch page, follow our Facebook page, TikTok. They've even got Twitter, I believe. I'm sure. I don't know how well used that is.
Yeah,
we've got everything. Because our main focus is to build this league up, and we can't do it without you. So, if you don't like, for whatever reason, any of our pages at the moment, please just spend 5 minutes going through all of them and dropping a like. Because these 2, especially when it comes to social media, put a crazy amount of work in, especially if you watch the DTS video of the transfer win, 26-minute video of quality stuff from those boys. So we appreciate you boys. So thank you very much.
I don't always put it on the bottom of posts because I sometimes forget, but every graphic video or design that has ever come out of any announcement has been from those boys for the vast majority. They do great work behind the scenes. Like
see when I stopped doing them and when they started.
I will make no comment on that.
But that's how we've progressed.
Thank you, boys. Much appreciated.
Okay, so this has been an Easter egg. It has been all about letting you know what our thoughts and opinions are, what we've been planning, what we've been doing behind the scenes. We hope you've enjoyed, and we will try and provide you another update as soon as possible. But from your admin team, thank you very much for everything you do, all of you as part of the community of PGR, and we hope to keep delivering for you guys as well. So on the screen right now will be a little Easter egg, because we're now going to be doing themes per season. So on your screen, it gives you an idea of potentially what our theme is for season 10. Join us, and hopefully we have a good season together. Bye, guys. Want to say bye?
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.